We need your help. We need to find out who's telling the truth. Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here. It's Monday night and guess what? It's the start of football season. That's right. And incredible as it may seem, the Jets actually won yesterday. And I tell you, the way they won, it's almost like it was divine intervention. You know, I might start to rethink my whole theory on God if the Jets keep winning. But anyway, it's nice to be here. Tonight's Monday night, and it's Monday Night Football, and they have a special edition because tonight's the opening night. They're going to have 2 games on, and the first one actually starts right when the show is starting. So the NFL called me and they said, Rich, please, can you do your show earlier because we don't want you to take all our viewers away. But I said, no, the viewers come first. So I'm here for you guys. And anyway, we're going to have some fun tonight. Today is the 9th. It's 9/9/13. Close, but no cigar. And tonight what we're going to do is, we always like to teach you something on the show. I mean, the most important thing is we want you to walk away with some knowledge. So we're going to show you the first clip now because we realize our audience has kids. And we want to make sure that you take care of your kids the proper way. So, John, let's show the proper care of kids.
Before I tell you what happened, you have to promise not to freak out.
You said he was allergic to peanuts. You didn't say anything about peanut butter.
They make peanut butter out of peanuts.
Well, I'm not a food scientist.
What do you mean, how's Connor? Wait, you have a 3rd kid?
Yeah, I'm changing her diaper right now.
Okay, I know you're not supposed to throw water on a grease fire. Well, I know now.
The question shouldn't be, why did you let Connor play with a nail gun? The question should be, did you learn anything?
Completely random question. Where do you keep your first aid kit?
Do you have a large plastic tarp?
Where do you keep your ice packs?
The jaws of life?
The key to your handcuffs?
Where do you keep your fire extinguisher?
Night vision goggles?
Paint thinner.
Metal detector.
Caution tape.
Duct tape.
Chicken wire?
Crowbar.
Connor! What do you want for dinner? Stretcher by any chance?
Justin and Connor were playing barber, and...
Mrs. Jensen? Kind of a funny story.
The bad news is, there was a bit of an incident. The good news is, your house is gonna be on the news tonight. How exciting is that?
Don't be this babysitter. The Red Cross offers classes that teach the basics of babysitting. In just a few hours, you'll learn how to handle an emergency, the basics of childcare, and how to talk to the parents if something should go wrong. Go to redcross.org/babysitting and register today.
You know, guys, repetition is the mother of learning. Like every year when we change the clocks, people say, well, check the batteries in your fire extinguisher. When was the last time in your smoke detector, when was the last time you checked your fire extinguisher? When was the last time you checked the little things that you kind of forget about? So anyway, a word to the wise, but in the future, especially with your kids, you got to be so careful. And I tell you, when I was a Boy Scout, the one thing they taught us was to be prepared. We learned about all these little different things and stuff like this. Sometimes it pays to pay attention, and if they offer stuff in school, I would take advantage of it. But talking about the show today, and what we're going to do is, last show we did it on psychics. And today we just want to wrap the whole thing up. We're going to show one final clip from, James Randi. And then we're going to have some fun because I'm able to download a lot of stuff that I haven't been in the past. We're going to show you a clip from our senators and congressmen and how they feel about climate change. And then we're going to look into renaming some of the storms that are caused by climate change. And then we're gonna prove to you, whether you guys realize it or not, we're gonna show you a little clip on Rupert Murdoch.
Got a caller? There's a caller.
We have a caller. Oh, look at this. Okay, wait, I gotta try to figure this out. Okay, hello? Hello?
Hey, Rich?
Yeah.
Hey, I got a gripe against the Jets.
Uh-oh.
How do they let that President Obama influence them on who plays quarterback? What's this Geno Smith guy playing quarterback for? And I heard he was a Muslim, too.
Yeah, okay. I got to finish telling the people what they're going to see tonight. All right, now, so anyway, we're gonna talk about Rupert Murdoch, and we're going to show you how in Fox Studios, Rupert Murdoch controls virtually what goes on, and this is the people that I call the Foxstitutes. And you're going to see them sitting around in their little think tank, and you're going to watch Juan Williams give them the old bada bing, king, and these guys don't know what to do. And when you look at how they laugh and you say to yourself, boy, there's a problem with these guys. And then we're going to show you some Republican wisdom. This is going to blow you away. And then we're going to show you what's important to the Republican Party. Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. We're going to prove it to you. And then, you know, today we want to talk about celebrating Costco. And you say, why do you want to celebrate Costco? The reason why is, guys, they pay a living wage. This is a company that we should be proud to have in our community. I mean, and we're going to show you, facts and figures, something the Republicans hate. And we're going to show you what the average worker gets paid at Costco and what the average worker gets paid at BJ's or at Sam's Clubs. And believe me, when we show you the difference, you're going to drive the extra quarter mile up the street to the Costco in Brookfield, and you're going to say to the Sam's Club, you start paying your people a living wage, you'll get my dollars. Until then, you don't get a nickel from me. All right, now. Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. All right, so anyway, we're going to start at the beginning, and we're going to go through with the amazing Randy, and this is about Uri Geller. And Uri Geller had an opportunity years and years ago to come clean that he didn't have any supernatural powers or psychic abilities, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted that money. And now we're going to show, and this is it, guys. This is going to be the end to the whole psychic thing, unless somebody rattles my cage. So, John, let's hit us with the next clip.
Hello, I'm James Randi, and I'd like to tell you briefly the history of Uri Geller. It's a long story, but we'll cut it down in length, mercifully. 35 years ago, he started to tell the world the story that he was a genuine psychic. But he's now decided to make a reversal of that. Let's examine it. Now, back in 1975, in my book, The Truth About Uri Geller, I gave Mr. Geller the opportunity to do a withdrawal from his claims that he had genuine psychic powers. I said that if he did that, I would set him up with a prominent agent in New York City so that he could become a practicing magician, an illusionist. And he certainly would get international tours out of that. He could have made an honest living from that point on, but he ignored that offer entirely. Instead, now, just recently, within the last couple of months, he's decided to do a reversal, to withdraw from his claim that he has genuine psychic powers. Well, Mr. Geller, that won't work. It's too late now. There are too many academic careers from universities all around the world of people who have been affected negatively. A short list: Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff from Stanford Research Institute at one time, Wilbur Franklin, John Hasted and John Taylor, Ted Baston, Andrea Puharich. Oh, the list goes on and on. These are academics who chose to believe that Geller was telling them the truth. He said he was. He said, "I'm not a magician. I've never done magic tricks. I can't do magic tricks. I've always been the real thing. I have genuine supernatural powers." And they naively chose to believe him. And their careers were negatively affected, in some cases very seriously. Now, you can forget the teeny boppers. The teeny boppers sort of went along with Geller. They were titillated by him, and he probably made a good living from their support. But they're not the important people. The important agencies here are the national governments, other organizations, universities, research agencies that spent millions of dollars to investigate what was known as the Geller effect. They chose to believe that Geller was not lying to them when he said he had genuine psychic powers. He even said at one point that he got his powers, I hope you're ready for this, from the planet Huba. Who knows where Huba is? It's in some extragalactic area, I don't know. But he said that an angel of some sort appeared to him when he was a mere child in his garden and gave him these mystical powers, and he found out that he could bend spoons with his mind. What a load of nonsense. I can't believe that anyone would accept this, but many people obviously did. Now again, we can forget the teeny boppers. It's the millions of dollars that were spent by agencies and by people who thought that he was genuine. They chose to believe him. Now he finds himself between a rock and a hard place. It's exactly where he deserves to be. Mr. Geller, you deserve this, and I will read from the closing words of my book. Somewhat out of character, I will read from Holy Scripture. This is quoted in the closing of my book about Uri Geller. "Stand now with thine enchantments, with the multitudes of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth." That's from Isaiah 47, verse 12. You're stuck with it, Mr. Geller. Lots of luck.
Guys, why would somebody want to do something like that? Why would you want to mislead somebody? I mean, something's got to be wrong with your brain. I mean, to take money from people, especially people that want to talk to dead people. If they want to talk to dead people, there's usually a reason. They're grieving. So don't be like a vulture and take their money from them, you know? And talking about psychics, you know, we're talking about football, and guys, I used to be a season's ticket holder for the Jets. It's the truth. I mean, we had many, many good times and many trying times. But there were times at games when people used to think I was a psychic. And I mean, let me explain. During a football game, there's about 120 plays. You know, each side gets 60 plays during the game. 120 plays. That's rough. Let's knock it down. Let's say there's only 100 plays. All right? But before every play, I would sit in the stands and I would scream something. Fumble! Interception! Safety! It didn't matter. Before I would scream something. And then, when something like an interception would miraculously happen, people in the stands would, "That guy's psychic! It's unbelievable!" No, I wasn't psychic. If I'm going to take 100 guesses, guess what? I'm going to get about 10% right. So, and this is what these cold readers and these psychics do. They throw out enough information, and people don't remember all the misses. They only remember the hits. When the guy fumbles the ball after you just said fumble, what can he think? That guy's psychic. It's a miracle. And speaking of miracles, if you watch the end of the Jets game, holy mackerel. But anyway, all right, guys, so hopefully that's going to put the final nail in the coffin. If somebody says to you, "I'm a psychic, I have psychic abilities," say, "Listen, the Amazing Randy has a $1 million challenge. If you can prove you're a psychic, go take the money. Don't waste my time." Case closed. All right, guys, now we're going to forge ahead to climate change. And we're going to show you some of the people that run our government and what they have to think about climate change. You'll see them in their quarters in the Senate and in the House. So, John, let's roll it and let's show you what these guys do.
You got a phone call. You want to take the phone call?
The science is clear that man-made emissions of air pollution and global warming gases are changing
global warming
our
is
atmosphere.
still an issue that the scientists are still debating, and you know it and I know it.
The debate on the causes of climate change are far from settled.
Well, the climate's always changing. That's not the fundamental question. The fundamental question is whether man-made activity is what's contributing most to it. I understand that people say there's a significant scientific consensus on that issue, but I've actually seen reasonable debate on that principle.
You look at this last year, it was the warmest year in the last decade, I think was the numbers that came out. I accept that. I do not say that it is man-made.
I don't think CO2 is a problem, and therefore I don't think it needs to be regulated.
We all breathe CO2, climate changes, but there's no evidence at all that it's man-made CO2 that causes the climate to change.
It's almost comical. Every time we exhale carbon dioxide. Every cow in the world, when they do what they do, you've got more carbon dioxide.
It could be secular. It could be just a shift on the axis.
The ice caps are melting, which we see over and over again. Yeah, they're melting on Mars, too.
I'd like to have somebody look at the lesser optimum, which is a little closer in time, and how much did the temperature rise then? We know that led to the Vikings dominating Europe for several hundred years.
The idea of human-induced global climate change is one of the greatest hoaxes perpetrated out of the scientific community. It is a hoax.
We can choose to believe that Superstorm Sandy and the most severe drought in decades and the worst wildfires some states have ever seen were all just a freak coincidence. Or we can choose to believe in the overwhelming judgment of science and act before it's too late.
Now, I want to know, what do these guys get paid to be deniers? I mean, really, what do they get paid? And you know what? Just to add a little salt into the wound, I watched a press conference with Marco Rubio where somebody asked him the age of the Earth. And you know what he said? He said, well, I believe it's around 10,000 years old. In other words, he's stating that he's a creationist. So we're gonna elect somebody to be president of our country that thinks the world is only 10,000 years old? That's scary. How does a guy even get elected when he thinks something like that? You gotta be nuts. How is that possible? What I always say is we have to call a spade a spade. So let's start calling these storms that we're having by their proper names. John, if you can roll the next clip, everyone will understand.
Andrew, Sandy, Ivan, Katrina. Since 1954, the World Meteorological Organization has been naming hurricanes and tropical storms. But what did these people do to deserve having their names attached to this? As climate change continues to create more frequent and devastating storms, we propose a new naming system. One that names extreme storms after policymakers who deny climate change. We propose something like this.
Senator Marco Rubio is expected to pound the eastern seaboard sometime early tonight. Windows are being boarded up and grocery stores are virtually empty as Marco Rubio threatens everything in his path.
Now, Michelle Bachmann is on the way, folks, and specifically the eye of Michelle Bachmann will be hitting Florida in a few hours.
Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is incredibly dangerous. If you value your life, please seek shelter from Michelle Bachmann.
Senator David Vitter is turning out to be one of the hugest and costliest disasters in American history.
David Vitter is literally lifting boats out of the water and tossing them onto the land.
In New Orleans, the levees that were built to stop Hurricane Colin Peterson have been obliterated. I'm here at the North Pier where Speaker John Boehner is really doing a number on this coastline. John Boehner is just destroying this town.
Local animal shelters are under pressure as thousands of animals have been displaced or killed by Governor Rick Perry.
We can't even take care of the animals that we've rescued, and so some of them are going to have to be put down, all because of Rick Perry.
We've been here for 2 days because of Congressman Paul Ryan. I have friends still out there. It's scary because I have no idea what Paul Ryan could be doing to them right now.
Senator James Inhofe has turned out to be a worst-case scenario come true. And now an entire nation is wondering how they'll ever recover from the disaster that is James Inhofe.
If you agree that it's time for a naming system that names extreme storms caused by climate change after policymakers who deny climate change, sign the petition at climatenamechange.org before John Boehner blows your entire city away.
Guys, it's all about calling a spade a spade. You know, if they're going to be deniers, give them something to deny. Now, here's something unusual. So far this year, I think we're halfway through the hurricane season, and we haven't had any yet. So you know what that's going to do to the deniers. But guys, you know we're going to have to pay. We're going to have to pay the piper one way or the other. Because when you put all this water vapor in the air, things happen. And I mean, the fact that the last 2 years, New York City had to close its subway system is living proof that, look what's going on in California. I mean, we almost lost Yosemite National Park. Can you imagine that if that burnt down? I mean, you know, look at what's going on here, guys. All right, now, one of the people that helps perpetuate this fraud is the owner of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch, one of the richest guys in the world, owns most of the newspapers, the TV stations. They own everything. And then you start to understand why people start to think the way they do, because they're brainwashed. But let's start. This is a short clip. You'll get an idea what type of person Rupert Murdoch is. Go ahead, John. Hit us with this one.
It was great when you could pick up the paper and get, well, news. Recently, the Courier Mail and the Daily Telly have been using their front pages to run a political campaign instead. Their owner, US billionaire Rupert Murdoch, has an agenda to get rid of our current PM. Fair enough. We all have an opinion. But political bias presented as news is, well, misleading crap. Don't let the crap decide your vote. Stand up for what you want. Tell Rupert we'll choose our own government.
Authorised by Sam McLean. Get Up, Sydney.
Guys, you're not going to believe this, but Rupert Murdoch helped the Conservative Party just get elected in Australia. They bamboozled the simple folk in Australia. The Conservative Party won, and guess what their main agenda is? To get rid of the carbon tax that Australia has just put in. It's the 1%, it's the fossil fuel industry, and it's people like the Koch brothers. They don't care. They don't care. And that's why we're here. Now, we're going to show you, this is from Sunday's News on Fox. You're going to see the 5 employees of Fox, but one of them is Juan Williams. Juan Williams came over from NPR. He never lost his values. Now listen to these guys and listen to Karl Rove. And I tell you, if I would have been sitting next to Karl Rove, the double reverse, bada bing, wouldn't have been enough. It wouldn't have been enough. But listen to them and listen to their agenda. These people are sick people. And the one thing that I really want you to pay attention to, watch at the very end of the clip when Juan Williams makes them look like a bunch of buffoons. Look at the nervous laughter. And I mean, it's like they don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do because the think tanks haven't set them up for this yet. They don't know how to handle it. So anyway, we're going to run this clip, and directly after that, we're going to run a clip from Blazing Saddles, which will help reinforce this clip when you see what a harumph is. So, John, if you can play both in succession, we'd appreciate it.
Ron, there's no question about the fact that the president went around the country for several weeks this summer talking about phony scandals, and you don't have to scratch very far in the White House to find people who say this is just...
This is it.
That this is a partisan effort by Republicans to exploit a tragedy. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's not one shred of evidence that the White House knew about this beforehand, that they covered up anything.
Knew about what?
Knew about this attack. There were all sorts of allegations up on the Hill coming from Republicans.
I don't hear that.
You know what? What really drives me is you've had an accountability review board come in, make 29 recommendations. State Department has accepted just about every one of them.
Never even spoke to the Secretary of State.
Look, the Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, has testified on Capitol Hill.
And dismissed
and
the whole
let me just
issue.
make one other point. The big argument coming from Republicans for most of this time was there was a stand-down order given from Washington or from the military command that we could have gone in and saved those people, but the stand-down order was given. Well, now we have Lieutenant Colonel Gibson, who was in charge of special forces in Libya, saying no stand-down order was ever given.
They just told them not to go. They didn't call it a stand-down order.
Oh, okay. So, in other words, then, we don't have anything. A year later, we do have an indictment, and Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has said more is coming shortly. But to make a scandal out of this, that's why you say this is not going away. Let me tell you, this has gone away.
No, it hasn't. The American people were lied to. Somebody concocted a deliberate lie that this was all the response. This was not a terrorist attack. This was a spontaneous reaction to a video that no one saw. The American people have a legitimate question: why were efforts not undertaken to save our people?
That the efforts were made.
No, they weren't.
No, let's go back to your first point.
No, they weren't. They were
this,
simply not.
Let's say
With
that,
all
Bryce,
due respect, no assets were put in motion. And
course,
as you just admitted, the U.S. military on the ground in Tripoli were told, don't go to Benghazi.
No, there was no stand-on order according. What we have is don't go in after the fact when we don't know what you're getting into, and it could result in more American deaths.
Don't go. That's the important thing.
No.
Do not go.
The difference,
and
Carl,
remember
is
what that Marine said.
There's a huge difference.
Remember what he said. He said it was the first time in history that he could remember that a member of the U.S. Foreign Service had more cojones than somebody in the military, and he was embarrassed.
Carl. Right. But Carl, you're all in the weeds here. The key point is
the death of 4 Americans and why they were allowed to die and why no one went to their aid is not in the weeds. With all due respect, Juan, it's not in the weeds.
What's in the weeds is the fact that you continue to prosecute this like there's some huge crime.
A deliberate lie to the American people.
Stop living in the past and trying to get after Susan Rice or whoever. This has nothing to do with the death of Ambassador Stevens.
Susan Rice or whoever. We don't know who is responsible for lying to the American people. Now, you may be comfortable with the American people being told a deliberate lie by the administration, but I'm not, and I think we need to get to the bottom of it.
You can continue to raise your voice, but it does not speak to the heart of the issue.
Chris, clearly this is not over, as evidenced by the emotions at this table 1 year later.
And one more thing. Think of the list of, going around this table here, the list of questions that remain unanswered to this day are what make this still a legitimate topic for conversation. And meanwhile, I'm sorry to say that this is simply not over.
It's gone, baby. It's in your head. That's about the only place.
Thank you, panel. See you next week.
Wholly
underwear. Sheriff murdered, innocent women and children blown to bits. We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen. We must do something about this immediately. Immediately. Harumph, 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 harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph. You watch your ass.
We got to do something to protect our phony baloney jobs, gentlemen. You saw Fox News. You saw how they do it. They're phony baloney jobs. All they want to do is create doubt. That's all they want to do. Doubt and confusion, that's it. And the simple folks sit there and, and they wrap themselves in the American flag while they're holding the Bible. And I tell you, you ever want to throw somebody a curveball? Tell them to read the Bible. Yeah, sit down and read the Bible. All right, now you're starting to get the idea of the Republican flavor and how Rupert Murdoch and the Foxstitutes, they strike up the band and they just keep going. Now, we're going to watch a woman, and a sweet old woman. Her name is Sandy. I don't know where she's from. I don't know the guy that did the video. And you could say, Rich, this is a plant and it's not fair. Guys, all I'm going to do is tell you, I found it on I found it on YouTube, which is where I find all my videos, and I took it off of YouTube. The thing that I want you to pay close attention to at the very end of the clip, I want you to pay attention to the sources, where she gets her news from. Because, like the reason why we surround ourselves with these question marks is, who told you that? Where did you hear it? And what are your sources? Because if you got it from a third grader posting on the internet, we won't accept it. So the thing is, everything should be peer reviewed. But we're going to introduce you to Sandy. She's a sweet old lady. And like I said, this is Republican wisdom. And I want you to notice one thing. She uses the word brainwashed 2 or 3 times. Listen to her talk, listen to the whole thing, and then listen to the sources where she gets her information from. John?
Sandy.
And Sandy, you got to understand the way the situation in this country.
Sandy.
And Sandy, you got to understand the way the situation in this country. It's pretty bad.
Yes, it is.
And
We're going to lose our country if we don't get Obama out of the White House. Guys, the communist, liberalism. Look what's happening to all the countries around the world. That was socialist government. That's what Obama wants in this country. But they had our schools for 60 years, and the kids went to schools, and they were brainwashed to vote this way. And it's up to mom and dad and everybody else to teach them what the Constitution means. We are not a democracy in this country. We're a republic for which it stands, one nation under God. They've taken God out of everything.
What's me, man, with this global warming? Isn't that the dumbest thing to believe in something like?
It's been proven wrong by all these scientists, but yet Al Gore has made billions of dollars off of suckers that believe in that stuff. We got to eliminate that too.
And it's abortion. I mean, can you imagine a woman having an abortion? I mean, isn't that crazy?
Hey, it's crazy, but Obama thinks you could take a 7-month fetus and beat it over the head, the baby when it's born, and kill it. Yet,
what the guy
partial birth abortion, they're all for it.
Isn't it really a pity? I mean, it's almost a shame that Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann are not running for president.
Because we have a liberal news media. They were brainwashed going through school, the college professors. They tried to destroy them with slander. They're trying it on Herman Cain now. Anybody, I'll tell you what, anybody the Democrats are afraid of, they go after like they're under attack, and they attack them because they know Sarah Palin, these people will not put up with the crap that's going on in the country. They're going to change it, make it better and for the people.
These people are educated, Sarah Palin and
they all are.
And then,
they're like you and I. They're not the clique in Hollywood, the good old boys club, and that's what it is.
What would you like to tell the Democratic Party? Because I'll tell you what I like to tell them. What would you like to tell?
I don't want to hear. My son told me to tone it down.
Yeah, you know what I want to tell Obama? Where's he from anyway? Kenya?
Yeah, I believe he is. I believe he was born there, but he's hiding it. I think after all this is done, they're going to bring out all this stuff. They hid his college records, his name, and all this. Nobody can find a person who went to school with him. They said he had an affair with a guy. All this has been buried. Well, I want to see what happens after he's out of office, if somebody's going to dig all this up.
Right.
He shouldn't even be president.
Now you say, I know, he's like a bisexual.
You know who's behind him?
Yeah.
George Soros. Is that his name? Who's the billionaire? He's a Jewish guy. He's the one paying for all this, all the riots in Wall Street and everything. He's got billions of dollars.
You know, that's what I thought, like Barack Obama's, is he bisexual or homosexual?
Well, that's what they're saying.
Right.
He must be.
And
he had a guy.
And what happened? He's having an affair with a guy.
Yeah.
And the only reason he got married, just to fool people, that he's a heterosexual. And, you know, and us Republicans want to get rid of it.
Don't they realize what's going to happen
Right.
with taxes? I will not get the care I need because I'm over 70. It's like, Grandma, you go die.
I mean,
We need to repeal it, and that's why we need to vote for somebody. Hey, our health care is the best in the world.
we have a great healthcare system.
But the Democrats want to screw it up like they do big government. So we got to shrink the government and get rid of the health. Thank you.
Where do you get your news from, though?
Rush Limbaugh.
What about
Glenn Beck?
They're pretty good. They're
Hannity. I read. I go to Tea Party. I'm a Tea Party member. I go to the Tea Party rallies. Very informative. They have meetings every month.
and everything they say is fact.
Yes, yes, yes. You can line it up. It's all based on the Constitution of the United States.
So where do you get your news from? Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and Sean Hannity. Boy, you talk about a trifecta, huh? I mean, and the thing, she's a sweet old lady. You know, I'm sure that she sits there, and when she listens, she believes that what they're telling her is true. I mean, really. You know, if you don't, when you watch Fox News, you really have to sit there with a laptop so that when they say something, you can Google it so you can get the truth. Because they don't want to tell you the truth. They want to tell you the Republican agenda. And the most important thing is they're not necessarily worried about your vote. They're worried about their pocketbook and how they can get you to help to take money out of your pocket and put it into theirs. And our good buddy, Bill Maher, will explain exactly how they do that. John, hit it.
Liberals have to stop gloating about Sarah Palin getting dumped by Fox News. Even though it happened less than a day after Bobby Jindal told his fellow Republicans to, quote, stop being the stupid party. That's just a coincidence. A wonderful, hilarious coincidence. Yes, it's true. Sarah Palin left Fox News this week, but don't worry about Sarah. She's like a cat. She always lands on her feet. And she's easily distracted by a laser pointer. And she shits in a box in the kitchen. And Sarah, I know you're fond of saying, when God closes a door, he opens a window. It's a quote from your favorite philosopher, the needlepoint pillow on your couch. And it makes me think of this guy. He got fired from Fox News, too. But did he curl up into a ball and weep like a baby? Of course he did. This is Glenn Beck we're talking about. But then he saw an open window, the internet. Who needs Fox News when he could take his patented brand of apocalyptic race baiting directly to the fans, who now pay $9.95 a month to hear Glenn, cheaper than a case of their favorite wine. And boy, I tell you, that $9.95 really adds up. Last year, Glenn Beck made $80 million, placing him 11th on the Forbes list of the highest paid celebrities, tied with Elton John, who sang at the wedding of someone else on the list, Rush Limbaugh, who lives in a house that Elton John would call too gay. I mean, who has clouds painted on their ceiling? I'll tell you who, con men. And con men, like Rush and Beck, are one reason the Republicans are in such dire straits today. Because they don't care about winning elections. They care about separating rubes from their money. They've discovered there's a fortune to be made by keeping a small portion of America under the illusion that they are always under attack from Mexicans or Acorn or Planned Parenthood or gays or takers, global warming hoaxers. It doesn't matter. They don't want a majority. They want a mailing list, a list of the kind of gullible honey boo-boos out there who think that there's a war on Christmas and that the socialist policies of our Kenyan president have been so disastrous, that the end of the world is coming. I'm not exaggerating. Go to any right-wing website and you'll see ads for prepper bags and water purifiers and survival seeds, also known as seeds. And for years, Beck, Hannity, and other radio hosts endorsed Goldline, a company that sells gold coins to frightened old people for twice what they're worth. Why not just hog-tie your audience and steal their disability checks? After all, we are talking about people who will spend actual money on a children's book by a fat adulterer and a peroxide blonde from another dimension. Glenn Beck has only 300,000 subscribers, so they'll never be a majority, but it doesn't matter. Maybe they can only vote once every 2 years, but they can buy the same book every 3 weeks. The exact same book over and over and over again. I don't know why being a Republican means needing to have your faith recharged 5 times a day like Dick Cheney's heart. Because there's no comparable industry on the left devoted to separating liberals from their cash. I mean, unless you count Whole Foods.
All right. Guys, Bill Maher just has a way to say it. You know, I mean, he's funny and he's to the point, and it's the old bada bing. I mean, you know, you call a spade, and it's that simple. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get capitalistic on you today, because I did promise that we're going to celebrate Costco. And you're saying, well, Rich, what do you mean celebrate Costco? One of the things that's important, especially in America, is that people get paid a living wage. And one of the problems is the business models that we've developed and we adhere to in this country often eliminate the employees, the most important part of the company. And why? Because they're the biggest place where companies can save money. You can't cut your electric costs, you can't cut your sewage costs, you can't cut your waste disposal, your property taxes, all these are fixed costs. The only thing you can really adjust is the money you pay your employees. So if you want to put money in the shareholders' pockets, where are you going to get it from? You get it from the lowest employees. It's the wrong philosophy. It's the wrong way to run a business. The business model should say, listen, Henry Ford probably said it best. He said, I've got to pay my workers enough money so that they can buy my cars. Because if they can't buy my cars, what the hell am I doing here? And this is what we've lost sight of in America. We're so intent on corporate profits and the shareholders. The hell with them. We got to take care of the people that are helping make the money. You know, a lot of these people have to work 2 jobs with no benefits. But Costco is a horse of a different color. They pay their people a living wage. They give them health benefits, even the part-timers. And they're still able to make a substantial profit. Now, how can Costco do it and the other companies can't? We're going to start to look at the different models now. And we'll take a look at some people that are striking, because this week, you know, we've had all kinds of strikes at McDonald's, Burger King, all these fast food places. And you know, McDonald's last year made $5.2 billion in profits. Walmart made $17 billion in profits. So let's go to the first clip now, and you're going to see, and these are people in the neighborhood that just want their friends and neighbors to get paid a living wage. What's so difficult about this? John, let's roll the first clip.
McDonald's is one of the largest low-wage job creators.
Raise your wage, McDonald's!
We are here to support the workers and other low-wage workers like you all across the country. McDonald's has been one of the biggest offenders in creating low-wage jobs, but $5.46 billion is what McDonald's made in profit last year. Don't you think it's time to share some of the wealth with the workers?
$3.50?
Yeah.
McMinimum burger. Nothing's in it, just like your paycheck.
Y'all work hard every day and y'all deserve a living wage. That's right. McDonald's is a national lead when it comes to low wages. Minimum wage has not been raised in 4 years, and today is the 4-year anniversary. So we're here to present a special song and a special message for you guys here at McDonald's.
Minimum McBurger. There's nothing in it, just like your paycheck.
You low-wage workers, you deserve a living wage of at least $13 an hour. You think you can make it a little better? Right now, as we speak, all across America, people are standing up and stepping out and fighting for you.
Raise your wage, McDonald's. Raise your wages. Raise your wages.
It's been 4 years, it's been too long. These workers have fallen further and further behind. They can work harder and harder every day, but they fall further and further behind. It's time for this country to do this. It's time for the Congress to do this, and it's time for $10.10 an hour.
Raising the minimum wage would help 17 million women in America. Imagine 17 million women catching up in the economy almost overnight.
Mi nombre es Lucila Ramírez.
Even after 2 decades, I only make $8.75, with no benefits. On such a small salary, I was forced to get a second job to keep a roof over my head. I'm 55 years old, and I'm worried about being able to retire. You need to raise minimum wage.
Guys, do you know what the average age worker is at McDonald's? It's 28 years old. And do you know who the average person is? A woman with 2 kids. How are you going to work and support 2 kids working on a salary of $8 an hour? I mean, really. And a lot of these McDonald's are privately owned, you know? But guys, rather than stand there and fight and argue with people, why don't we embrace the companies that are doing the right thing, like Costco? I mean, let's have a rally at Costco where people are, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of everybody. Thank you for paying them a living wage. And John, do we have that little decal that we can put up now for the living wage? There we go. Guys, we have an idea. And the idea is that companies or businesses that pay a living wage, we should have like a sign on the door. So when you walk into that, and if you can come back to me, John, but when you walk into that establishment, you know that the guy behind the counter is being paid a living wage so that he can take care of his kids. I mean, these are the people in the community that make the difference. This is why we're here. And, you know, you can't take advantage of, you know, people say, well, you know, the people that work at McDonald's or these low-paying jobs, you know, they're not smarter. Hey, You try to stand there for 8 hours and deal with the public and all the people that come into a McDonald's. You know, they should be paid double. And what would the price of a Big Mac go to if we actually paid people a living wage? What would it be? Pennies more? Maybe $1 more? I'd be willing to pay a little more just to know that the guy that's serving me the food has dignity and he has respect. Simple stuff, really simple stuff. All right, now the next clip, we're going to show you the financial difference between BJ's and Sam's and Costco. So, John, roll it.
Costco is a company that is credited by a lot of progressives, liberals, Democrats, etc., for being good to their employees. You're about to see why. And in fact, their CEO, Craig Jelinek, came out and said, you know what, you got to raise the minimum wage. And you know what you should raise it to? Not the $9 that President Obama wants, to $10.10. Now, when's the last time you saw a CEO of a major corporation saying, raise the minimum wage? Almost all the other CEOs are like, no, lower it, I want to pay them less. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to have 3 yachts, 4 yachts, 5 yachts, right? But this guy's saying, no, raise the minimum wage, $10.10, okay? So, well, obviously, what a softy. You don't understand capitalism or the free markets. So in this last quarter, they probably lost a ton of money, right? Wrong again, Bob. Made $537 million. That is profit, not revenue. That's profit, okay? And that's up from $394 million last year, so getting better and better. So what happened? I thought that you had to be cruel and heartless and crush your workers to make a profit. Turns out, not the case. In fact, you might be able to turn a profit even if you're great to your employees. Do you know that they give not only full-time workers health care benefits, but part-time workers? Now, how many stories have we done on this show where companies are like, oh, no, I'm lowering your hours so you're part-time so I don't have to give you health care benefits, and then I'm going to kick you out in the street. Good luck to you, okay? Right? Not these guys. Now, but wait. I haven't gotten to the best part. So what is the average salary at Costco, especially compared to, for example, Sam's Club, which is run by Walmart? I hope you're sitting. Look at this. In 2011, the average Costco worker got $45,000. The average Sam's Club worker, $17,486. Wow! That is a gigantic difference. But obviously, if you're that good to your employees, well, you're never going to turn a profit, except they do. I just showed you the $537 million in profit they made in just one quarter. You know, there are 4 of those in a year. Don't believe the hype. You could be great to your employees. You could be a decent human being and still make a great profit in this system if you run a good business.
Guys, I got a good question for you. What's the biggest welfare recipient in the country? I'll say that again. The biggest welfare recipient in the country. Bingo, it's Walmart. And we're going to let Senator Barry Sanders explain how Walmart gets away with robbing everybody blind. John, roll it.
The minimum wage help workers. Will it kill jobs? Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont would like to see the wage increase. Economist and former Congressional Budget Office Director Douglas Holsaken doesn't think it's a good idea. Let's have a good debate right now. And Doug, let me begin with you. What's wrong? It's been 4 years, $7.25. Inflation has gone up. Cost of living has gone up. What's wrong with raising the minimum wage?
Sounds great until you ask the question, where does the money come from? And when an employer has to pay that higher minimum wage and doesn't hire somebody as a result, he basically have said, let's transfer money from the unemployed to the employed. I can't favor that.
What about you, Senator? I know you disagree totally.
You know who the major welfare recipient in the United States of America is, Wolf? It's Walmart. Walmart Corporation, which is owned by the Walton family, which is the wealthiest family in America, worth some $100 billion. They are paying their workers $7.25 an hour, $8 an hour, $9 an hour without benefits. And you know who's subsidizing Walmart? The taxpayers of America, because many Walmart workers and their kids are on Medicaid, they're on food stamps, they're on affordable housing. It is time for employers in America to pay workers a fair wage.
Senator,
$7.25 an hour is not a fair wage.
The question becomes, who do you think you're going to help if you raise the minimum wage? Everyone always thinks this is an anti-poverty tool, but you're going to give the higher minimum wage to the children of affluent people like me. Why don't we do something that's targeted on poverty if we're worried about
what are you talking about, the children of affluent people? The fact of the matter is,
minimum wage applies to everybody, and you know that.
That's right.
So why don't we have a policy that doesn't hurt jobs? And let's face it, it's really hurt teenagers. That raise in the minimum wage in 2008 and 2009, we have a 24% teenage unemployment rate.
Okay.
40% on black African Americans.
Can I get a word in
Let's
here?
be real.
First of all, let's be real. And the real factor is that most people who are working for low wages are not children. That's a bogus argument. The reality is that most low-wage workers are adults. And if you want to help kids, make sure their parents are earning a decent wage. The idea, and by the way, let me take something a step further. So most Republicans now, Wolf, we have reached such a right-wing degree that most Republicans now, they're not only opposed to raising the minimum wage, they want to abolish the minimum wage. Abolish the minimum wage.
Well, let me ask Douglas Holtz. Do you want to abolish the minimum wage?
No, but I see no reason when the national employment rate is 7.6%, teen unemployment is 24%, and to pick a tool that's likely to hurt job growth, doesn't target the right people. This is not targeting on poor people. Earned income tax credit does that. We have lots of programs that do that. And which, in the end, does not answer the question, where does this money come from? The setup clip was great. It said, you know, $32 billion in additional spending. But where does that money come from? And the answer is going to be from another American.
First of all, let's be clear. What we are seeing now, and what raising the minimum wage would do, it's not only people going from $7.25 to $10 an hour, it's people going from $9 an hour to $11 an hour. The great crisis in our country today is income inequality. Top 1% is doing phenomenally well. Low-income workers are doing terribly well. Now, the gentleman here talks about the need for jobs. Good. I have a proposal. Others have a proposal to create millions of jobs in many areas, including rebuilding our infrastructure, putting our people back to work.
All right. Guys, once again, we ran over. But you know what? Next week, I want to continue with part 2 of Costco. I really want to build up a nice foundation for everybody. But did you notice what this guy, Douglas Holtz-Eakin, was just saying? Where does the money come from to pay these people? Well, guess where it should come from? It should come from the profits of the corporation. When you build a business model, you have to incorporate that into your business plan. Plain and simple. That's it. You got to take care of the backbone of your company. Guys, good seeing you. We'll see you next week with part 2 of Celebrating Costco. They changed it again?